dreams collide. High road roaring every night. Spotlight on Spurs, feel the fight. Spotlight on Spurs, hearts ablaze through the cheers and cloudy days. From the lane to glory's flight. Spotlight on Spurs, shine so bright. Echoes rise when we take the field. This is passion, nothing concealed. Through the tackles, joy ignites. Spotlight on Spurs, burning lights. Feel the tempo, sweet and wild. London's warriors never mild. Every challenge we endure. Spotlight on Spurs, loud and pure.
What's up, guys? Luke here from Spotlight on Spurs. We have something different this week because the regular co-host Chris is no longer here. The work rate's absolutely disgraceful. Can't believe he's not here. It is his birthday, but so we'll let him off. So happy birthday to Chris. Big shout out to you, mate. But we have got a star-studded lineup, and we are here to discuss Newcastle. Been a lot of arguments in the fan base. Good result away from home, but bloody hell, we only created 2 chances. We were lucky. Typical meltdown from Spurs, and we're here to dissect it all. And then we also have Frank reunion coming up as well, so we'll be going through that and plenty more. Thanks as always for the support, guys. I really appreciate it. And also throughout the show, we will be putting in the guests links as well. Please make sure you go and show them some love and subscribe to everyone who's a part of it. Now, 2 people that have already been on the show, you will know them because you are in the Spurs community. First up, we will have Nige from Pure Coys. How are we doing, sir?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me back on. Looking forward to talking all things Spurs.
It's just never a dull day in paradise, is there? There's never a dull day, mate. Thanks again for coming on. Much appreciated. Next up, again, everyone will be fully aware of Mr. Tottenham Logic TV himself. How are we doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, all good, mate. No logic at all. Just Tottenham, isn't it?
Tottenham
I try and
Hotspur.
put a bit of logic into Tottenham, but it's not easy, mate. Not easy at all. It's a pleasure to be on, mate, as always.
If you manage to do that, mate, please let me know, because this is the most unlogical, illogical, however you want to say it, club in this whole entire world.
I've been trying for 3 years, mate. Don't worry.
Haven't we all? Haven't we all? We also have another guest who will be joining us shortly as well. Again, you will know who that person is when they join. Guys, as I said, a massive thank you. Please, before we kick things off, please make sure that you're subscribing. Please make sure that you're liking the video. Let's see if we can get to 20 likes today. That would be absolutely lovely and make me slightly more happier being a Spurs fan. So, guys, let's start with the big debate. Let's just get straight into it. I've just been on the Spurs 5. We've had this sort of debate as well. Nige, where did the whole Newcastle result sit with you? And I say result, obviously performance comes into that as well. What did you think of it as a whole?
You know what? It's one of them, isn't it? And we were saying it earlier on in the season, performance is not great, but we're getting results. As soon as the results start turning against us, we start losing. Suddenly, that's where the meltdown starts. And it was one of them. Performance wasn't great. We weren't fantastic, but we go to St. James's Park. We get a well-deserved point in the end. Whether Newcastle was slightly off it or not, I don't care. Spurs were not great first half. But second half, they showed some fight and some battle. And let's see what they do going forward. It's a good point. I was happy, but we've seen it before, haven't we? Spurs put in a good performance or a decent battling performance, and then we return to White Hart Lane and we're awful again. So let's see what happens. But yeah, pleased with a point.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And our last guest for the evening has joined us. Harry, sir, how are we doing? You all right?
I'm very good, thank you. What a fantastic panel. A huge honour to be here. Apologies to keep me waiting, and really good to come on and talk Tottenham. Always stuff to talk about, isn't there?
Always is, mate. Hope you're well. Thank you very much for coming on. So, moving on to Alan. What was your thoughts on Newcastle? I think Nige kind of summed it up quite well there. But what was your thoughts on the whole debate that's going through the Spurs fan base? It's almost like we've been in debate all season and all last season, whether it was Angie in, Ange out, Frank in, Frank out, whether it was Levy in, Levy out. Cole, we love an in and out, don't we?
I think we've been in debate since 1961, mate, to be honest, since we last won the league. So for me, I went through all the emotions again, as you do as a Spurs fan. The first half, very, very frustrated because, again, no shots on target. I think that was the fourth game in a row where we haven't had a shot on target in the first half. We're becoming that one-half team at the moment, which is frustrating. But on the flip side, in the second half, a lot more battling. It showed that Frank has got the boys on side because they must have listened to whatever he said at half time because they put in a better performance in the second half. There's a lot more attacking play in the second half, which I enjoyed, but it still wasn't all clicking together. It seemed like it was still a bit robotic going forward, but it's expected when you're a new manager with a new way of playing. Half your team's been out most of the season, so he's not been able to get everyone on board straight away. But all in all, we haven't gone to Newcastle for a few years now. I think it's 2021, if I'm right. The last time we went there and actually got a victory. So it's been very tough in recent years, but to come away with a point is a lot better than recent history. So all in all, I'm happy with that. But like Nigel said, if we go to Brentford and we get a 0.07 XG against them at home, this Newcastle thing will be irrelevant and we'll all be back to doom and gloom again, I think.
Yeah, completely agree. And that's what I've been saying to everyone. Like, let's not, because there's other fan base obviously saying, I can't believe Newcastle, it's a draw, etc. This isn't just because we've not been unbelievable, performing really well, and then gone to Newcastle, got a draw, and the fans are in uproar. This is the performances that we've seen for a consistent period of time. I remember saying, I can't remember how many games we'd played, but I was saying we're on 18 points. But if we play all of these games again in the next, we won't pick up 18 points. We will not reach that level of points because the performances have not matched up to the actual points that we've picked up. So I completely agree. Harry, where did you sit with it all? There was so much emotion, which it feels like, again, every single game, it feels like there was. But where did it sit with you at the end?
For me, nothing but proud, really. And maybe I'm looking at things a different way from the reaction that I received on X. But for me, I would go as far as saying I'm proud of Frank and the boys. And some people go, why? Well, to come back twice at St James's Park and to walk away with a draw, not many teams can say that, A. And B, we went there, real lack of confidence, 3 defeats before that. It was going to need a gritty performance. We're going to need the rub of the green sometimes. In my opinion, we went there, we didn't get that rub of the green in terms of the decision where I think we're robbed against. And still to come away with a point, I just think, with context, that is really impressive. Of course, I want to see us be bolder in attack, and the performance isn't absolutely perfect. But I just think we saw maybe more Frank principles, Luke, in this game in terms of clinical, can shut up shop and keep teams out for the majority of the game. Newcastle had to make substitutes. I know we conceded 2, but they had to make substitutes to score. And, I'd also argue that, that the first goal was a good one for them. But Porro, it's avoidable if he's not quite as touch-tied. We're going to look at it like that. But we saw a medium to high press. We looked dangerous in set pieces. So I saw enough out of that to go, look, as a fan, that's something that I can get behind. And I think for the team as well, and for Frank, it's something to build on. I totally recognise it's not all rosy. Like, I'm not, wearing tinted glasses. I understand that. But I just think for me that the sackings of managers, going through the whole cycle of sack, very high at a point kind of cycle at Tottenham has cost this club and certainly hasn't taken us forward. So I think maybe time to end that. Let's look at Frank and go, okay, you've done really well in your career. Time tells, whether you're right for Tottenham, whether you're the right fit. I think Frank's ready for the step up, but I don't know if he's right for Tottenham in terms of, the motto to dare is to do. That is my only concern. I will admit, as someone who's a big Frank backer, is he right for Tottenham? I'm not 100% sure. I like my team to be, hard to predict, hard to play against, can shut up shop and can be sensible and almost adaptable in game. That's why Frank for me is the perfect manager. But I get Spurs fans' concern. I just think overall there's a lot of negativity within the fan base. I don't think it's completely as bad as some people maybe make out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I actually said this at the end of last season when it was the whole Ange debate. I said it doesn't matter what happens from now on. The start of next season is going to be, there's going to be toxicity no matter where it comes from, because if we don't start well and we sack for Ange, then Ange should have been the manager. And I've been seeing a lot of comparisons now between what Ange, I mean, for instance, the start of the season and what Ange would have been doing, etc. And it would have been the same way if Ange was still in charge. Then there would have been the people that wanted him out. They'd be sitting there saying, "Well, actually, we're struggling because he doesn't know how to do this and everything else." So I definitely feel like it feels like everyone's been at loggerheads for quite a while, which is very, very strange, I think. But Spurs are a very, very strange club, and I've always said that. Especially when it comes to style of play, Spurs are very insistent as a fan base and needing a particular style. Do you, Neil? We'll coming to you. Do you blame Frank for this, or do you think that this is on the club? Because I'm not being funny, but the last few interviews, every single manager we've had, they've said, "Yeah, coming in to play attacking football," and I'm sitting there going, "But you've never really done that before. So why are we now telling you that that's what your remit is?" Do you put this on Frank? Do you think it's on the players? Is it shared between everyone? Should the board have been looking elsewhere? Where do you put this at this moment in time for why we seem to find it difficult to be able to win football matches and dominate possession, I suppose, in a way?
I don't know. I think, you know what, I look at Spurs this season and I don't necessarily think it's a massive problem. I think our problem stems at home.
Yeah.
I don't think we're terrible away from home. We've had one poor performance typically again in the North London derby. Apart from that, we've been decent away from home. We just can't, for whatever reason, transfer that away form to home form. And I got to be honest, I think, if I'm being totally honest, I don't think this team was good enough. We finished 17th for a reason last year, and I don't want to keep harping on about last season, but we did finish 17th. We're pretty much the same players. So I'm not quite sure what we're expecting. I don't think we were a possession side last season either, really. Most of our possession was at the back, sideways, horseshoe football. I just don't think we've got the players yet to play that kind of football, and I'm not sure whether that's on Frank. And I don't know. Time will tell. But I think it's too early. I just think everything's at the moment just too early to be judging too much.
Yeah, and again, there's always two sides to this, and I very much said this about the Newcastle game. I think if you are someone who doesn't like Frank, if you're someone that wants Frank out, then there are so many different facts and figures that will suggest that you're correct based on that game. But then there's also the other side where if you back Frank and you can see what he might be getting, like he needs time, he needs to be able to put principles in. There are also so many other things that you can put in that you could say, well, that proves exactly the point that why Frank should stay. So Harry touched on it a little bit earlier on, but just to give a bit of context, if you're not aware, Spurs currently sit 11th in the table, which obviously is not great, bottom half. However, when you look at it, that's 4 points off fifth. You could also, again, flip it the other way and go, well, it is also 4 points off 16th. So again, it's what side of the fence that you sit on in terms of, is it a positive or is it a negative? Now, you'd rather have the points on the board 100%, but it only takes a couple of wins and all of a sudden you go from being 11th, similar to what happened to us previously, right? We were fifth. Everyone was saying, well, you can't moan, we're fifth. And then all of a sudden we've dropped down. So, but it could easily happen the other way, right?
Yeah. Did we not say this earlier on in the season? Like 8 games in, a lot of fans were like, "Oh, we can't look at the table yet. We're sixth, but you know, it was early days." And then as soon as we dropped to 11th, everyone's like, "Oh my god, we're 11th." It's like let's just wait it out a bit.
It's what fits your argument, right, Alan? It's what fits your argument.
It depends if your glass is half empty or half full. That's probably what we're trying to say here. So at the moment, we haven't got an identity, but it's supposed to be this way. This is the thing. We're supposed to be bad at the moment. We're not supposed to be fighting for the title or fighting for top 4 at the moment. But I think because Frank came in, had that really good performance against PSG, we beat Manchester City early on. I think expectations went up here. And then what happened after that? Reality hit. We realized that we're not that kind of team at the moment, and we struggled at home, especially when the fans got started getting a bit disgruntled with the players. And all of a sudden, we're where we are supposed to be with a new manager trying to implement his style of play. and implement. And you've got to remember, we've had the worst injury record in the whole of Europe. I think the top 5 leagues, we've got the worst injury record. If you think about the days missed, I think we've missed about nearly 100 games. If you add up all our players' games that they've missed. And if you put that into context with a new manager coming in, a team that did finish 17th, but I don't believe they were a 17th team. I think we were going for that cup and we rested a lot of players. So we have to put that into context as well. And so I think our expectations went up here, and then we all got a bit annoyed because we're dropped down from those expectations. But I think we're around where we should be. And like we all said, if we win a couple of games, I predict at the beginning of the season we'll finish 6th. I'm not veering away from that. I still think we're possible to finish 6th. Just the way the Premier League's going, everybody's dropping points. Everyone. The only team that's not dropping points regularly is the Gooners at the moment. Everyone else can beat everyone. Like Leeds just beat Chelsea. And we were talking about Chelsea challenging Arsenal for the title. Anything can change very quickly in football. If we beat Brentford and then we go on to beat Nottingham Forest away, which is very, very possible, we could be in the top 5 again and be talking about how great Frank is. So It depends on how you look at things, and it depends how it goes in the next few weeks. But on the caveat to that, if we keep playing games at home and we're having a 0.07 XG or whatever you want to say at home, I don't blame the fans for getting frustrated and booing the team, because at the end, I don't want them to boo during the game, because I don't think that's going to help anything at all. It would not help. And at the end of the game, if they're frustrated, they've paid the money, I think, they're going to boo. That's what they do. But it doesn't help anything. If you're booing your players, it's not going to make them play better. It really does not help. But I'm going off on a tangent anyway. But what I'm saying really is
we will do that. Don't worry about it. We will do that.
Yeah. So I'm used to just talking on my own channel and no one interrupted me, so I just carry on for about an hour talking nothing. So yeah, but basically, if we win the next couple of games, we will be happy again. If we lose the next couple of games, we'll be saying Frank out. It's just the way we are. We're very emotional, but if you sit back and look at it from the outside, it's not that bad, and we're supposed to be where we are at the moment, to be fair.
Are you saying that we're a fan just love meltdowns? Is that what you're saying? We're just that sort of.
Well, we are. we do. That's what we do.
I completely agree. Guys, we've just had a big Spurs 5 raid. Massive appreciate you for coming over, guys. I was just on the channel, and now hopefully some of you are seeing my face again. Apologies for that, but we've got some other beautiful men that are on this stream with me. So here we go. Big up to Harry. Make sure, as I said earlier, guys, I'll put it up constantly in the chat. Make sure we're going and we're following the guys. Their links will be put in the chat. Simple click, simple like, simple subscribe. It just helps share the love. When Spurs fans, we need some love, guys. We really need some love. As Danny says, smash the likes. Smash the likes, ladies, and gentle Spurs fans. So if you're not a gentle Spurs fan, still smash the like. Don't worry, mate. Just all smash the likes, guys. Harry, as the guys have mentioned, it's just such a weird sort of position to be in, right? Because there are so many factors that prove that Frank might be the guy that can take us to the next level, but there's also the possibility of there being negative stats. For instance, as we said, first half, no shots on target for 4 games on the trot. It's a real difficult one, but you seem to be a little bit more optimistic recently, especially from the Newcastle game. We see some glimpses against PSG, albeit a defeat, but again, we see some characteristics that were good. But I keep going back to it. The fact that we went to Newcastle away, down twice, horrendous penalty decision, which we will go on to. Big up to Adrian, who's put a question in, which we'll discuss in a second. But it shows that's exactly what you want, and especially from your leader, right? To grab 2 goals. I think we've got 9 goals between the 2 centre halves this year, which is just crazy in itself. But that's exactly what you want to see, right?
It is, and I'm personally really confident at the moment, but at the same time, I'm not tone deaf. I know that this isn't perfect. It's a rough patch, but I just think we've got a problem in modern football now. And take it how you want. This is coming from a younger fan, right? And it comes from my generation. Unfortunately, it's something where there's this expectation to win straight away. Like, fans come in and go, boom, I want to see the success. I want to see success. I want to see the trophies. I want to win now. That for me isn't right. Success takes time. It should be no way you win, straight away. And for me, unfortunately, and it never goes well, but I think there's a genuine point. I think it has to be put across the right way, and it needs a lot of thought. But I think we have to have a wider conversation within the fan base about what I call, and there's more to it, fan entitlement. And I think Frank, for me, is being unfairly judged because of the style of play more than actually the results. And that for me isn't right. And I think our home form for me is down to Frank trying to adapt and flex to please the fans and come in a consequence to the team. That for me doesn't sit right. And maybe I'm completely out of touch, outdated, whatever. But for me, of course, you want to play beautiful football, but I want to see my football club win games. For me, I go, it's a results-based business football. For managers, for football clubs, that determines their season. You don't remember, I tell you what, even though it was a huge game, I promise you that final Bilbao, go in a year's time, you don't remember how Tottenham played, and you don't remember how Man United played. You absolutely remember the result and the outcome, and who won the trophy. That's the importance of result over the performance. I really like Frank, but even if he isn't the right man for Tottenham, I don't know why we're having conversations after 14 games as to literally some people he's poison to the club already. I just can't really get my head around that at all, because I think that managers have been not the problem at Tottenham, let's just say, and sacking Pochettino for me cost us. Whether Mourinho before a cup final, Conte said what he had to say, make some really valid points. He said it black and white, managers aren't the problem. The problem lies from upstairs. And, what I would say to fans that are Inika, you're going to be okay, and, they've changed, then Vinay I like, but he come out and said, that there'll be transparency from the club. If through difficult periods you'll hear from us. Well, there's been nothing since, the summer. And I'd argue that, when you go to Chelsea and Arsenal, those are bad results. There are times where fans are questioning the manager, and I get why. That's why we need some kind of voice from upstairs about the longer term project. But they speak when they want to speak, put it that way. So lots of problems at the club. I get that. But at the same time, I think as a fan base, there's a lot of negativity. And, for example, what we see with Vicario, I think fans have a very short-term memory. He saved us single-handedly on his own several times this year. So I think we need to get behind him. His mistake was awful. I was there inside the saying really bad, and boo the team because you pay your money, right? I'm one of them that pays my money. Yeah, every game season ticket holder. I get that. I didn't boo, but I get why people do boo. Don't think your own players. I think there is a line to be crossed, and make no mistake about it. Someone would have spoken to Frank upstairs, and because his whole language has changed. That's not overnight. So I've been told what to say, and fans know that they're not stupid. So that also adds to the pressure on Frank, knowing that how he feels is not what he's being said. If that makes sense, Luke. But I am behind Frank. I think it's far too early to judge. Like you said, it can go both ways in the table. It's all really tightly congested. And I just won't buy this thing lastly that Frank isn't a big game manager. I'm afraid I do not buy it, because at Brentford, and I know it's totally different, right? But people, for me, disrespect what he done at Brentford. When he took over, they were a lower mid-table championship club. He took them firstly into the playoffs, then into the Premier League. Then he kept them in the Premier League, then becoming stable and competitive, then mid-table, and then left them in the top half. And make no mistake about it, they would have only gone further and further to what we see of someone like an Aston Villa now. I get that Tottenham's a whole different kettle of fish, but people sit here and go, Frank's done nothing in his career. That just for me isn't fair, because Brentford had a negative net spend. So for me, with money, with backing, I think Frank is the man. And right now we see real disconnect, don't we, lastly, between the fans and the players. That for me is the number one problem right now. We need to restore some kind of community almost and club feeling. Frank done that at Brentford when he come in. There was a little bit of horrible taste and noise there. He'd done that. Eddie Howe done it with Newcastle, already a community, but only added to that. So Frank's the right manager for Tottenham in unity. Is he the right manager in terms of the principles that represent the club? That's the conversation to be had.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's part of it. You mentioned it earlier just about the attacking intent. I feel like if you're an attacking football manager, you're looking to go on the front foot, you're looking to press, you're looking to score goals. You buy yourself an extra bit of time. Whereas when you're playing more negative, the more defensive side, you give yourself that possibility of fans being able to switch it on really, really quickly. We was going to touch on it, but Adrian, as I said, has already brought it up. What is your view on the penalty decision? Do you think it will now see less pushing and shoving at set pieces? We'll start with you, Nige. What were your thoughts on the penalty decision?
Yeah, it was a joke. Absolute joke. I mean, I was watching it and I was like, they're not going to VAR. They can't be going to VAR. It can't be for the foul. It must be for something else. And yeah, as soon as the referee went over to the monitor, you knew it was going to be given. I can only remember one decision that's ever not been given when a referee's gone over to the monitor. And weirdly enough, that was Tottenham, and it went against us. When a referee went over there, looked at the monitor and decided, actually, I've made the right decision. I'll keep it as a penalty. Yeah, never a penalty in a million years.
Alan, what do you reckon? Was it a penalty for you?
It was disgusting, mate. Absolutely disgusting. I couldn't believe it. Like, we just equalised. We were getting back in the game. I thought, we could go on and try and win this game. And again, I nearly swore there. A stupid decision again. Dan Burn literally done a wrestling move on this guy, done a DDT, took him to the floor, nearly knocked him out, and they gave a penalty to Newcastle. I could not believe it. I've seen this happen a million times in all the other games. I've seen a lot of Premier League games this season. I've seen hundreds of players do this and nothing has been given. Spurs do it once and it's been given. The amount of times it's happened against us where a player's not looking at the ball, dragging our players down, and the referee just talks to them and then lets them take the corner again. And this time, because it's Spurs, penalty. I could not believe it. It was disgusting, mate. And I don't think they've even apologised for their mistake. I don't even think they think it was a mistake. So if you give that penalty now, I want to see that penalty in every single corner that comes in now. There should be a penalty in every corner now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think that's the problem, is that this is something we see so regular. I know that there was the whole idea was that he wasn't looking at the ball. However, that's irrelevant for me because he was in a headlock. It's very difficult to be able to look through a 6'5" man who's built like Dan Burn is, and be able to do anything about it. It looked for me like Dan Burn just basically run him over, literally just run over the top of him. But what was surprising, and I said this on the night when I was streaming, was that there was one person in the whole of the world that thought it was a penalty, which was the VAR person, and then on review there was two people, and that one was the ref. The manager of Newcastle apparently afterwards did say in an interview he thinks it's a penalty. Dan Burn didn't think it was a penalty. All of the commentators were absolutely fuming, to the point where when it actually came on TV, they just completely dismissed it. It wasn't even a conversation. It wasn't a question. They weren't saying, "Oh, this is unlucky. Oh, this could be." They were like, "No, not a penalty. Move on." And when they went to VAR, I just absolutely couldn't believe it. And I think what us as fans don't sometimes understand with VAR is that it's not there to re-referee games, and I think that's exactly what they did. If that was given as a penalty on field, then VAR wouldn't have overturned it. In my eyes, that would have been the correct call. It wouldn't have overturned it and said, "Look, it probably isn't a penalty, but we can see why he's made that decision. He's made that decision. Leave it." But to go over and say that was a completely wrong and a wrong decision from the ref, for me, was just such a strange situation. Harry, what was your thoughts and what was the feelings around at the stadium? Because obviously you said you was there, right?
For Fulham or for Newcastle?
For Newcastle.
I wasn't there. I was in the stadium.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
That's my bad. You're right. I did mention that. I was meant about the Vicario bullying. But no, for me, it was frustration and anger at the time. And I look at it now, I still think it's the wrong decision, but I can at least understand why he's done it. I'm not defending it, by the way. I'm just trying to be as open-minded as I can. I looked at it, and the letter of rule of law, kind of letter of law almost, says that, aggressive. How to word it? It's like, if you hold on to opponent for a set amount of time, which Benfica maybe just about does, and there's a couple of things like that, and I thought Benfica, okay, maybe, but for me, what he's telling, you've said it there, is Dan Burn's reaction. It's about a shot. There's even a VAR check. He wants to get on with the game. What does that tell you? Tells you he's not interested in that. Burn's a physical player, and I like that about him. And he's a better player than I think some people realise. He's a pain in the backside. He's not a good left back. He's a good centre back, very clever player, a lot better on the ball than people give him credit for. He's typical in it. People use the excuse that he plays the England team to go, "Oh, he's average." It's a very lazy kind of thing to say. He's a lot better than that. I'm not saying he's world class, but he's got more to offer than he gets credit for. But for me, there's nothing in this. I like to see this. It's a really competitive game between two big sides. Let this go. It's what Burn wants. It's what Newcastle wants. It's what Tottenham wants. It's what Benfica wants. Do you know what? I'd like to have, and it's a shame that this has dominated the conversation, because the wider conversation should be, why is Benfica marking him? Why the hell is Benfica marking him? He's short, and Burn's a big, tall player. He's not really going to win that battle. So Benfica knows he's got to make up ground. But the letter of the law provides a little bit, tiny bit of context in terms of Benfica. It says that if you've been warned already, which apparently he had been, and if he's initiated the contact, held on for him for a bit too long, etc., and it's all about the body kind of position of Benfica, I think, is the problem. But either way, I don't agree with it. And VAR, for me, I agree that it's here, but it's got to be used with clear and obvious errors. That's what it's bought in for. That's the dream we were sold. In reality, it isn't. It's a celebration, ender almost, and it is overused. And I'd argue, what's the point of a referee? And I don't mean this nastily, because officials are better than people give them credit for. But what is the point of the referee if it's going to be almost like robotically or micromanaged from the upstairs or in Stockley Park VAR room? It's literally, what is the point of a referee? I'd also question what's the point of, I was going to say linesman, but now called a referee's assistant. Because the game's been done for them, really. It should be there to give them support. But now, like, you tell the referee, we think you made a mistake. They're fearing their own mistake. It just doesn't give confidence to a referee. If they stick with the referee's decision, which they did do for a period, most of the time, apart from clear and obvious, it gives officials confidence. But right now, for me, it's just totally, your referee's got the easy job in terms of he knows that he's going to be corrected, so referees get lazy, but he's also got the tough job that he has to admit he's wrong. So for me, it's go about it the wrong way. It's micromanaged. If people say, I wish VAR could do this, do that, I would massively strip it back. I'd reform it hugely and just have it where it's absolutely necessary and you wouldn't use it on a weekly basis, for example.
Yeah, it becomes a talking point, and that's exactly what you said, Nigel. I think it's only one that's gone over to the screen and gone, nope, I'm going with my decision. So it's almost like they do feel, and I would argue that if that was in a different stadium, maybe that person doesn't feel like they have to overturn that decision. Like if you're playing, I don't know, Bournemouth, I think it's the smallest one. So you're playing Bournemouth away and there's a decision and you're going against them. Is it less intimidating when you're in, like you're at Newcastle, do you know what I mean? Where you've got all of these people that are all screaming. And as you said, there feels like there's an expectancy on the ref to just reverse the decision. It's very, very rare that they don't. But one thing I did want to start touching on, because Harry's mentioned it as well, but I feel like the Vicario situation has been a bit of an avalanche, really. He went from a couple of weeks earlier to being like man of the match in the Champions League, and then very, very quickly turned around. Obviously, there does seem to be a lot of discontent within the fan base at this moment in time, and I feel like it was just a culmination of things that built up for him to get booed. Don't agree with it, wouldn't do it myself personally, but I understand sometimes why fans go to these lengths in terms of booing. What was your thoughts on the whole situation, Nigel? And not, I suppose, do you think fans are right for doing it, but can you understand the frustrations when it's been, is it not 3 wins in the league all year and we're in December?
Yeah, listen, it's not something I would do personally, but maybe, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it would be. I mean, I certainly wasn't happy at home watching it. I was voicing my opinion to the TV, but I don't know. Vicario's not my man. I've got to be the first to admit. Yes, he's an okay shot stopper, but for me, he makes me nervous at the back. I understand why the fans do it. I really do. It was early in the game. We were already a goal down. We shot ourselves in the foot once. We literally did it again. I understand the fans, especially at home. Our home form is wretched. We're not winning games. It's almost like we're just handing games to the opposition before we even kick off. It's like, there you go. There's the win. And so I get it. I get why the fans do it, but then the players do it as well. You get players not clapping the fans after the game. And you can't have it both ways. If you're going to do that, then expect to be booed. And listen, for me, no, probably not during the game. It was quite funny when he kicked the ball about 5 minutes after and the fans were like, hey, that was quite funny. But, save it to after the game. Probably don't do it during the game.
Yeah, and Alan, I'll come to you on this one, but it is the first time I've heard fans boo their own player during the middle of the game. But this happens quite regularly when a goalkeeper, say, drops the ball and the next time they catch it and all of the home fans go, hey! So it's not like it's unheard of for players to get critiqued by their own fans during the game, but booing, for some reason, a sarcastic cheer and laugh feels a lot more humorous than booing your own player, right? Where do you sit on the whole booing Vicario during the game?
Logically, if you boo your own players, here we go. Look, if you boo your own players, they're only going to get worse. They're not going to improve. They're going to just think, stop this. Why should I play for you guys? Do you know what I mean? If it was me being booed, I probably would have walked off. But I would never boo. I went to the Bournemouth game this year, and that was horrible, by the way, horrible watch. And I noticed the fans were, when Johnson was, I think his first 10 minutes, he lost the ball twice. And the third time he got the ball, there was groaning straight away. And as soon as they started moaning and groaning, Johnson got worse and worse. He basically disappeared in that game because his confidence just absolutely dropped. I don't believe that booing the team or the players is going to help whatsoever. It's just going to make them worse. I physically watched them like all declining in that game. They all started dropping all their performances. Richie, Kudos, everyone, just they all basically down tools because there was groans all over the stadium. You could hear it loud and clear. And if I was playing, my confidence would have dropped as well. So I don't think booing is a good idea. But what Nigel said as well, it is both ways. If they're not going to come and clap either, then they can't complain about the booing. So that is a very good point from Nigel, to be fair. And with Vicario as a whole, he can be absolutely brilliant, and then he could be absolutely rubbish at the same time. That decision to kick the ball in on the pitch, is left-footed. He's not even left-footed. He tried to keep the ball in rather than just kick it into the stands and then get back into position. That decision alone was a bizarre decision. It still doesn't deserve a boo. I think he was probably just trying to start an attack or something. I don't know what was going through his brain. But he's done this a lot of times. Like, I think, what was that game? It was early on where the ball come over as a cross and he completely misjudged it, went underneath it. It went right over him and we nearly conceded from it. And like, as a goalkeeper, if you're coming out and you're just standing there letting the ball go over you, it looks really bad. It does look really bad from a cross. And all that's going to do is entice the opposition to keep putting crosses in. But on a caveat to that, there's loads of times this season as well, he's absolutely saved us from embarrassments. He's done some fantastic saves as well. He's kept, I think there was a run where he kept 3 clean sheets in a row and he was man of the match nearly every game. That's not good for us because obviously we're getting battered every game and he's getting man of the match. But so he's a bit like half glass half full again, glass empty sort of thing. So yeah, he's hard to get behind because he's not consistent. That's the biggest problem. If he can get
like a lot of our players, right? There's a lot of our players that seem to lack that consistency.
It's a lot of our players that are not consistent. Like, you'll see some of our players have a fantastic game and then a week later they're non-existent. So it's not just Vicario. And to answer your question, no, we should not boo our players, especially after 6 minutes in a match.
Yeah, I said this right from the very start as well. I don't think the booing was specifically Vicario's mistake. I think it was an accumulation of multiple different things. I think it was the fact that we're so bad at home and all of that. But I also think that it was the reaction of Vicario straight afterwards. Vicario's instant reaction was to blame others. It wasn't to sit there as one of the leadership group and one of the people that have been captain and just turn around and go, my mistake. He started shouting and screaming at whoever it was. And it was like, hang on a minute, you've made that clear mistake. We had this last year. I think it was last year or the year before with Bergvall. We had it when he done it to Archie Gray. And it seems that he devoids himself of any responsibility on the pitch when he makes mistakes. However, straight after the game, he comes out, fronts it and says it's my mistake. But when I watched that, I was going, you've clearly made this mistake. When you're running onto the ball, you had about 4 or 5 chances to just get rid of it, just clear it out, kick it out for a throw in, restart, reset. And it also felt like he was out of his goal for an absolute age as well. So for me, part of the booing our fault was the fact that he just didn't take accountability for it. As I say, hand up, sorry guys, my mistake, move on. But it seemed to be like that. But I completely agree with Cyril McQuays here. It's fair enough to boo at halftime or full time, but during the game it's more of a hindrance to players. I completely agree. As I said, personally, I wouldn't boo at halftime or full time, especially if we can see players are trying to do the right things, even if it's not coming off. But to boo a player during the game while they're still participating in that game and they're going to, I find it very, very strange. Hotspur Hood, big up, mate. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in. Boo at the end. Supporters have the right. Some players need to man up. Getting paid 80k a week plus 80k. That must be the cheap one. That must be Spurs players because we're good on the old wage bill. People defend the spoiled brats there. And again, I think that kind of goes into what Alan was saying about the whole fact that people can do what they like. You pay your money. You supporters spend a hell of a lot of money. And that's another thing that obviously I think has been mentioned by Frank. It feels like football's getting very transactional. So it's like, well, you do this and we'll respond with this. And if the fans do that, it's like, well, let's just be clear. The fans paid their money. That's the first transaction. So now it's over to the players. It's almost like sometimes the players are saying, well, you need to give us something. Yeah, we did. The 80, the 90, the 100, the 120 quid that we've just paid for our ticket. That's what we've given you. Now you show us something. Harry, what was your thoughts on it? And obviously as a match going fan who's there pretty much home game, where did you sort of stand on the whole situation?
Yeah, as a season ticket holder, I mean, I just didn't like it at all. It's not something I want to see. Yes, I get, like with others, you pay your money and you're entitled to do what you want. But at the same time, job as supporter is to support the team through thick and thin. And unfortunately, there are some that only support in the good times, unfortunately. Vicario, let's be clear, catastrophic mistake. What is he doing? I do not understand it. When you get those mistakes in football and you understand it. Like you get a defender's own goal, because they're trying to prevent the striker from scoring. It looks awful and they slice it up in the air and you think, oh my God, that's match of the day bloopers, literally on the Too Good, Too Bad show on match of the day too. It's always there. And it looks bad, but context is important. With this, I don't know what he's doing because he reads the situation okay, does all right, just put the ball out. And I know you might be starting to start an attack, but you don't start an attack when your goal's gaping, you've got 3 or 4 players behind him. So it's totally wrong. And people will say that, if Vicario can't handle that, there's something wrong. But at the same time, the people that say that, they wouldn't be able to handle it in Vicario's situation. And, Alan's very honest there. And he won't be the only one. Look, players, nobody, whether you're a player or not, will be coped in any job of being booed like that. And I just simply don't agree with that. I think that's what I'd call follow the sheep and kind of a typical thing to say. And, I think every opinion in this is valid. But I think when you are booing your players, you have got a problem. And I think we have to be clear with ourselves. This is for the Vicario was booed. It wasn't for me booing the performance, unfortunately. It wasn't booing. That was like what we saw at half time and at full time, because the loudest boo was Vicario's touch after. And that for me, I felt awful as a fan. I just simply do not get that. I know we've been bad. We've gone through bad moments, but I just don't get people who realistically thought that Frank will come in and it'd be absolutely perfect. No manager right now could come into Tottenham or any club and be perfect straight away. It's incredibly rare unless the foundations are already installed. Like we're seeing at Brentford, Frank's successor. Funny that. For me, you need to give him time. This comes back to the whole things of fan entitlement, jumping down the throat of players too quickly. Question what Vicario is doing, holding to account, but to boo him and make him feel uncomfortable. And we've, made so many mistakes of that in the past. It would be Davinson Sanchez, whoever we booed. The only one that maybe you could agree with is Tanguy Ndombele. We've done it with Sanchez. He's gone on and done great things, and that rocked his confidence completely. But Johnson, and that wasn't in the stadium, but fans made him delete all his socials. In the end, thanks to him and his attitude, he come back stronger. So Spurs fans are amazing, but unfortunately there's some that create a bigger problem. I just don't think booing Vicario is necessary at all. And do you know what? It crushes the argument. Nigel mentioned it there. It crushes the argument of whether we should go stronger than Vicario. And a lot of it is the language is used poorly. I often see the language like, is Vicario fit to wear the shirt in the past before this incident, this is. Whereas it should be, do Tottenham need a number, do Tottenham need a stronger goalkeeper? Or, is this, can we upgrade Vicario rather than is he fit to wear the shirt completely? I hate the way that things are labelled, and it comes back to my whole wider conversation. But gone around the houses to give you a long answer. I don't like the fan response to it at all. I think it's totally wrong. And Vicario, I think handled it well, didn't call it out. And I totally agree with what Porro said. I think you put it perfectly and you're very articulate. Yeah,
and as I said, Vicario is very good after the game at coming out and making statements. And I like the way he is definitely after the game. But as I say, for me, and I think someone else mentioned it in the chat as well, Phil Coyes, I think the boos came from Vicario throwing his hands up and blaming his teammates after his error. I definitely think that was a part of it. I think that's unacceptable. I think he does it too often. And as I said, part of the leadership team. And that's, for me, shouldn't be happening. And then all of a sudden, I mentioned Vicario, and like nothing else, James Flower attends the chat and tells me all about Vicario, no doubt. I've got a terrible football opinion, but he's sub to everyone. That's all we care about, mate. I agree. You've got a Richarlison shirt at home with his name all over the back. And there we go. He's your keeper. He's all our keepers, mate. We ain't got a choice. We ain't got a choice, even if he is making mistakes. I'm joking, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Emerson Royale, Dyer, just examples of players that have been booed. We seem to do it. Ben Davies has had some awful abuse. And I'll also even mention it, Son. Last year, there was so many people going way over the top about Son. I think we do it as a fan base, to be honest with you. There was a few stats that came out that have been coming out, obviously, over the coming days. And actually, Spurs' home form this season, I think, Nigel, you might have mentioned it earlier, at the moment in the form table, we're actually 19th. And the only team that have been worse than us is Wolves. So we picked up 5 points, top of that list, unfortunately. And I think this also feeds in to how Spurs are feeling right now is Arsenal on 19 points. But that is the key, I think, for Frank's tenure. I think that getting that home form sorted, and actually quite funny when teams come up from the Championship, that's one of the first things that everyone says: home form is going to be key. Home form is going to be key, and I feel like it's going to be key for Frank, and it gives you a base to then go on. There's less nerves in the stadium and everything else. Do you think? Obviously, it is kind of a bit of a daft statement in terms of course, you've got to play well home and away if you're going to pick up points. But do you think, Nige, that the home form is the key for Frank to turning this around?
Absolutely. I think the home form is the problem, the only problem. You know, like I said earlier, the football so far has not been fantastic, but you kind of expect that with the players we've got, because I don't think we've got a great team. But if you turn our home form, and if you switched our home form and our away form, and our away form was our home form and our home form was our away form, there wouldn't be as much of a meltdown, I don't think, because we'd be winning at home, the fans would be happy, and we'd be doing what we usually do away, is not win a lot. So I think it's all about winning at home. What I am really fed up with, though, and I have to say, is these apologies from the players after the game starting to drive me nuts. This needs to stop. You know, the fans certainly need to help at home by getting behind the team, but the team need to give us something on the pitch to get behind, for me. So yeah, just switch the home form around. We got to stop them better.
that would be brilliant. No, I'll tell you what. All the away games. Can we play that? Can we play them at home? And we just swap the results around. Alan, what do you think? Do you think that this is key for him to really? And obviously the boost for Vicario again going into it has got a bit toxic slightly, a bit like Sean with his comments about my green screen and headphones combo. I do realise these headphones are absolutely humongous, and I need to get a new set. I know. Cheers. Thanks for it. But the only reason why I wear these big headphones is to block out, Sean, your horrendous footballing opinions. But anyway, Alan, as I was saying, what do you think? Do you think home form's key for him to be able to get the fans, kind of pull the people back to supporting Spurs, especially at home?
I thought you were going to ask me a question on your earphones, mate.
We'll leave that ones out of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Home form is key to every team. Like it is. It's how you build your rapport with the fans. It's how you look at the season. It needs to be a play. Look at the stadium. It needs to be a play. It needs to be a fortress. It's got everything there. It's, we could be very loud on our day. Remember the Bodo Glimt game last season, and how loud and how good that was. Like we've hardly seen that, and it is to do with performances. If we are putting in top performances week in, week out, we will see the fans like that week in, week out as well. When fans are going there, they're going there nervous. They're going there like feeling the worst straight away. They were fearing the worst when we come to I'll keep calling it White Hart Lane because I've not named it, so I'm going to call it that for now. But we go to White Hart Lane, and when I went there this season, fans were already like, we just beat Burnley, but fans were already nervous about playing Bournemouth at home. We should not be nervous about playing Bournemouth at home. They are a good side, but we are Tottenham, and we should be when we're at home. Remember we all remember the last season at the actual White Hart Lane. We were undefeated. Since we've left there, our home form's gone down, and we were promised that we were competing at the top. And I think again, expectations went higher with the stadium again, and now it's completely dropped. And every time I go to the stadium, anyway, you can feel it in the fan base that everyone's nervous. As soon as things start going wrong, everyone starts moaning and groaning, and it affects the players, and they start playing worse, and the fans get worse, and it just turns toxic again. And it's a bit of both. The fans need to obviously support, but the players also need to give them something to support. So it's a bit of both, and they're both not connecting at the moment. All it will take is beating Brentford, winning our next 7 home games in a row, and then everyone will be happy again. Easy as that. Why can't we just do that?
Football is so easy when you just win the next 7 and everyone's
just win the
laughing.
Next 7 in a row. If that actually happens now, then I've claimed that I've predicted that. Yeah,
we're gonna clip that, and then if we lose the next 7, then it's all gonna be on you, mate.
Yeah,
because
and I'll shut my channel down and that.
Harry, being, as I said, the match going fan, have you noticed the difference in the sort of atmosphere at the stadium? And I completely agree. Watching some games on TV, you can definitely feel just the anxiety in the stadium. When you're there, can you also feel that anxiety? And obviously that then bleeds onto the players, because the home form, as I said, this isn't just about Frank. This has happened under Ange as well. As I say, I think it's 3 wins or something silly all year, or something crazy like that. So can you feel that in the stadium?
Firstly, our home form's a big issue. I agree with Nigel. It's got to be the number one issue, because you keep fans happy by getting results at home and also by playing well as well. And at the moment, to be fair, as someone who likes Frank, we aren't playing well and we aren't getting results at home. So, of course, that rings alarm bells for anyone. I totally understand that. Again, not tone deaf. But, yes, I just feel like, whether it be the Chelsea game, whether it be Fulham, you just feel like Spurs fans are waiting to implode. They're waiting to let it out. And if I'm honest with you, I think you mentioned it earlier, a lot of it is, and I totally get it, and there's no complaints as far as I'm concerned here, because Arsenal are boom up here and doing so well. It hurts. It hurts all of us. And our way of letting that out, instead of giving them credit, is, to feel hurt as supporters and take it out on our own club. And the reality is, unfortunately, we have to distance ourselves from Arsenal. Doesn't mean we can't compete with them in a game. But I think we should absolutely hold our team to account to go, look, London Derby, 90 minutes. All we expect is you give it 110%. I'd argue it wasn't enough what we saw at all in that defeat. So, yeah, totally get that. It has to be a standard, it has to be an expectation as a supporter. But generally, the trajectory is totally different. Unfortunately, they're way above us. But I think he's calling out for what it is. The home support isn't good. And, there is, of course, no simple fix. But at the same time, simply, I think when you've got to sing a little bit more, if you start being, and again, I'm sure it's not easy, but glass half full rather than half empty, that honestly goes a long way. And, I personally do my best to try and get the atmosphere going, but, not being funny, I'm not the tallest. I'm absolutely not the loudest. So for me, it makes absolutely no difference. I'm aware of that. But just people sitting around me, like, for example, they call their own players a lot of horrible names that I don't like. I find it quite uncomfortable. I'd never say anything, but it's not what I like to hear. And the common ones are Johnson and Richarlison. They go further than, he's a disgrace, he's this, and they bring family into it and kids into it. I just think it's totally wrong. And of course, this is just a select few in and around the stadium. And just for me, that represents, though, a wider thing that, there is a growing frustration. Some are just more vocal, some are a little bit more nasty. So, yeah, there's definitely been a flick. And there has to be pressure on Frank and Tottenham to turn it around, in particular at home. That's normal. But at the same time, I think you've got to remember that, as a team, we need to get behind. Well, we need to get behind the team and Frank, because, for me, it's critical being a supporter even more during tough times. And I'm not going to say it's catastrophic right now, but it's not pretty. It's a bump in the road. And Frank, whenever he's been, it would be Denmark, it would be a recent club, Brentford, it starts off slower, but it gets better, throughout his time there. And you need that support. And he nearly lost that support in early days as assistant manager of Brentford. And again, when he took the job officially. So, and they were rewarded through being patient when he gets his ideas and principles across. So again, I think time will tell on that. But home form is an issue, Luke. It really is. And there is a growing sense of frustration, which is normal. I think as fans, and Frank said it really well, really, again, when probably spoke to the club, to be fair, that, fans are right to vent their frustration, but there has to be a red line almost. You don't boo your own player. That's just not acceptable. And we need to support the team for the benefit of the players. But again, there's it does anger fans, like Nigel says, when players come out with this long apology that they've probably got carbon copy from online or carbon copy from the week before. It is a bit frustrating. And what I do wish we'd see from Tottenham teams in general is it would come out the blocks flying in games like Arsenal. And for me, there's never an excuse in the London Derby not to give 110%. But as a fan, I'm just one of them. I don't know necessarily why, but I support my club, and don't get me wrong, I do have some level in my head of where I want us to achieve. But I am easy satisfied, so I do recognise that, and always the best person to comment on that. But for me, right now, I'm not going to say I'm happy with where we are. I'm happy with some things I've seen, and think it will eventually go in the right direction. So for me, I'll be there every week, no matter what. And that's another thing: leaving stadiums early, but it's a wider problem than Tottenham. But the atmosphere is not the best anyway, and it is hostile at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think football has definitely decreased in its sort of intensity in the stadiums, and part of that, I think, is obviously ticket prices and bits and pieces as well. And that's just a whole nother venture that we need to go in. Big up, we've had 2 super stickers coming in. Andrew Burnett, big shout out to you. He said earlier, he's sorry he didn't sub to me earlier, but he's here for Harry. I'm all about that, mate. We're all here. We're all at Tottenham fans. So spread that love around is perfect. I really, really appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. And then big up Phil Coyers with the super sticker coming in as well. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Guys, I'm going to say it again. I said it at the start of the show. Please, please, please make sure you're going and subbing to everyone. As I've always said, us Spurs fans, we should be subbing to absolutely everyone, whether you can watch, whether you've got the time to or not. Sub to everyone, drop likes on videos. It really, really helps people. And we can all have more discussions about our beloved, beautiful Tottenham Hotspur. Moving on to the next subject, I did want to get people's opinions on Jed Spence. Now, he's not been featuring too much under Frank recently. I think Porro has had a proper dip in form, which I think consistently happens with him because of the amount of games that he plays. I think everyone forgets that we had a similar dip. I think it may have been last year, and then he came out a couple of weeks, went back into the team and actually started to play to a better level again. But last year, there was a hell of a lot of calls about Ange saying that he's got no idea how to manage this player. He was the best fullback at the club. But it looks like Frank's also another one that doesn't fancy him for whatever reason. Nigel, what are your thoughts on the Jed Spence situation? Do you think he should be starting? Are you happy with it? Where do you kind of sit with the whole him not really seem to feature?
He's a good option to have, isn't he? He's
Absolutely.
one that I would never, if he plays left back or right back, I am never concerned. There's some players in the Spurs side, if they're in, you're like, oh, great, he's playing. Never think that was Spence. I actually would start Spence over Porro. I am not a Porro fan at all. So, yeah, for me, I like Spence. I think he's a good player, whether it's left back or right back. And like I just said, I would be starting Spence at right back. I'm not a fan of Pedro Porro.
Oh, really? Oh, he's gone very, very hard there on Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro out. We're Pedro Porro out. We seem to be in out as a fan base, so we're Porro out now. Alan, what are your thoughts? Do you think Spence should be starting?
I like Porro. Sorry, Nigel.
Right.
But the reason why I think Porro has some of these poor performances, because I think he gets majorly overplayed. I think that if, your doggy and Spence seem to rotate quite a lot, but Porro seems to play every single game. And I think that really affects his game. I think he has games where he's absolutely knackered. He looks knackered sometimes and people literally walk around him. But I think on his day, he's absolutely exceptional. I think lately his ball playing has been absolutely horrendous. His crossing has been absolutely rubbish. But normally he's absolutely brilliant at, putting the balls forward, putting the crosses in and getting on the end of things and linking up with other players. He seems to have improved as well when Kudus was on his side, because Kudus does a lot of work rate for him. I think when he has someone like Johnson on his side who doesn't do as much work rate, I think it does affect him massively. But I think we should be rotating Spence and Porro a lot more than we are. If, like Nigel said, if Spence is playing instead of Porro, I wouldn't be worried. I think it's a really good problem to have. I think having 3 good fullbacks is better than just having 2. I think under Poch, we only really had 2 really good fullbacks, unless you count Trippier as well, which he was quite decent as well, to be honest. But I think having all 3 and the fact that Spence can play on both sides, he's a massive asset to be fair. Because if anything happened to any of our fullbacks, we know we've got someone to come in. The only problem is if something happens to Spence, then we've got no cover at all for both sides. So that is a big issue as well. I do believe Spence should be played on the right hand side, not the left. He doesn't when he's going forward, he doesn't interact with the forward line as much as we want him to. He seems to struggle to take men on the left-hand side, but he's much better on the right at doing it. So if Spence does have bad games, you know, on the left-hand side, you can say, well, it's not his side. I haven't seen him have many bad games on the right-hand side, to be honest. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's a good problem to have. Having 3 good fullbacks and rotating them is good, but I still think we need one more. Even one more that can play on both sides would be absolutely vital for us, I think, especially because your doggy's injury record as well.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that is a focus that we need to be looking at, is getting some. I actually said that I expected every single game a fullback to be rotated and taken off, because, as you said, if we lose one, the options are Archie Gray, possibly Ben Davies is probably the other one. Van der Ven potentially go into left back with Danso, but then again, you don't really have natural cover of the left centre back, so you don't put in another square peg round hole, that sort of stuff again. So I completely agree. Harry, where do you? Oh, my mic seems to be going through. Harry, where do you sit with Spence? Do you think he should be playing more games, and do you think Porro should be the one to drop out, even if it's for a short period of time?
I think the guys make good points. Firstly, I think that's what I will say. I think it's good to have 3 good fullbacks. Again, as the guys have said, I like Davis, but I think realistically, it probably would have been right to move him on. And if he's going to do his coaching badges, I guess that's okay. But in terms of what he can offer, for me, I don't see it as 4 fullbacks. I see Davis as like your emergency player, what Everton had for a long while in Shems Coleman, for example, where they'd fall in a bit of a rut and rely on him, and you knew that's when they were struggling. If I'm being honest with you, and Chelsea done it with Aspilicueta for a long while. Again, a little bit, of course, higher levels of player. But yeah, 3 good fullbacks. It's interesting. Jed Spence I like. And for me, I always looked at him and went left back, right back. He can do both. Agree with Nige, you wouldn't worry either way. However, more recently, I just think he limits us going forward when he starts at left back. And I think when a doggy comes in, he has so much more balance. So it really depends on the opponent. If you're playing a low block team, if we come up against Wolves again, where I do like Frank, but I think he got it wrong, that's when you be more attacking. You start Porro and Doggy as your fullbacks, because both these players didn't start out as fullbacks. Doggy started out as a high left wing back, but as a kid, because I've read his book and everything, in terms of, say, read his book, you get those, not his own book, but it's written, people who spoke to a Doggy throughout his career. But as a left winger, and we were talking 6, 7, 8 years old, Porro definitely started as a right winger. So that just tells you need to know they're more attacking minded. And Porro, for me, every time I think he's improved defensively, he goes and has like a Fulham, for example. So I totally appreciate where Nigel's coming from. I think Porro, I love the passion. I love him going forward, but you wouldn't trust him with your house keys. I don't know how you can link that to football, but you wouldn't trust him at the back one-on-one. When the ball's over the top of Porro, I think, oh no, God, please no. Please someone get back. Van der Ven, where are you? Get the bus back and get on the pitch. But, we have 3 good fullbacks. That's the reality. And Spence is still good. He can do a job on the left-hand side. But when you're not left-footed, when you're not suited to that side, it just is a little bit evident in pre-season a couple of times. One cost us for a goal where he's turning. It's not his fault. It's where, he's square pegs and round holes, as you said, and being forced to play the position. We said it with Gray as well. In the end, it could be good for so long, but then when they're like, oh, Spence is so much better on his side. And the comment says there, and I don't agree with who's necessarily, the guy who said it, we've disagreed a couple of things tonight. I think he's right that Porro can't defend sadly. I think some players, you can coach them a little bit and improve them a little bit, but never too much. I think Porro's always going to have that little bit of vulnerability defensively, but don't know waffle and go on too long here. 3 good fullbacks Tottenham have, which is good. It's a blessing. Could have done with 4. Again, I think we've got to be ambitious, and that's the thing. For me, it all comes back to upstairs, In January, we've got to be, bigger. We've got to be bolder. We've got to get our elbows out a little bit. Stop this PR stunts. We're going to do this. 100 million here. Obviously you don't want to hear it because you don't say anything when we need you to. So just get on with the job in January and give us what we need, because this team needs strengthening. We didn't replace someone like Son, for example. Someone said they're back with the doggy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the case. I mean, if you look at it, the doggy and Porro both started out as really attacking players. But you're right, they are again slightly different players. But the point is, Spencer's more suited to a back 4. Porro's more suited to a back 5. So is a doggy. A doggy for Udinese was always that left wing back that would overtake that left winger for Udinese, and that's his best. So we've never really seen him at his best at Tottenham, unfortunately.
Yeah, and again, I think this all leads into the fact that we chop and change our managers so often. often that both of these players, I think, were signed under Conte, who plays 5 at the back, and then the next appointment is a 4 at the back. And despite the fact Nuno liked to play 5, it seemed like Spurs insisted he played 4, which is a completely another conversation. We will touch on this in a little while, so big up. Worried about Frank's system is going to suit Maddison and Kula. We'll come on to that because that is quite an interesting point. But the other part that I just wanted to mention in just terms of the left wing options. Now, Harry mentioned it a little bit with the left back in terms of Jed Spence, and I think that depending on who you're coming up against, what sort of opposition they are, then I think it's good to have different players who are able to bring different things. But over the last probably 5 or 6 weeks, we've seen Tell, Odobert, Johnson, Ritchie, Xavi all start on that left wing position. Seemed for a period that Odobert was the favourite, and he seemed to get a couple of games going. Came on against Man United, really impacted the game, and then I think he played a couple after then. But now it seems that Johnson was, I think 2 weeks ago, didn't get off the bench, and last game started. So where do you think the left wing option? Who do you think? And this has been the question from the summer, right? Not everyone said that we needed a left wing, we needed a striker. But in terms of the left wing position, do you think that we need to kind of just settle down, go with a player, even if they're not playing that well, they just need to kind of have a bit of run, bit of rhythm match? Who would that player be if that's for you? Are you happy for it to chop and change?
You know what? This tells me that Frank just doesn't know his best 11's best left winger. For me, and I've said it earlier on in the season, I would just play Odobert, and he started to do that. He got a run of 4 or 5 games, and then he's out of the side again. You know, for me, Odobert's the one. He's exciting. He's starting to take on his man. He's starting to beat his man. He's starting to make chances. Listen, he's not great, but for me, he's better than the options we got. Tao's not the one. To be fair, Tao's impressed me the last couple of times he's come off the bench, but he's not a starter. Richarlison's not your answer out on the left, and Johnson's definitely not your answer out on the left. So Odobert for me, and I don't want to be harsh on him saying he's the best of a bad bunch because he is young and he is a talented player, but I would just play Odobert week in, week out until January, until we can get hopefully a better left winger in. But I see promise in Odobert. I like him. You know, at least he actually tries to take his man on. So yeah, for me, it would be Odobert.
Yep. Alan, where do you sit on the left wing options?
I agree with Nigel. I think Odobert should have that place for now. But I think when it comes to January, we do need to upgrade there. And I don't mean upgrade as in replace Odobert. I think we need to get someone. Let's just say, for example, I don't think it's going to happen, but let's say we've got an Semenyo, just to give a name in. Yeah, just pretend that we're going for him. Odobert needs someone to learn off. You know, he's still young. If he can have somebody on that left-hand side that's absolutely electric, he can learn from that guy and be a very, very good squad player to bring in replace, start to rotate in with this new guy, whoever this new guy is. But at the moment, we haven't got this left-hand side player that is fully like he's nailed on for that position. I think Frank should just stick, like Nigel said, should stick with one guy on that side and say, you're my number one choice. Give him the full confidence and say, that's you for the remainder of the season and see what you can do. I think like Nigel's right as well. Frank doesn't know his first 11, which is true. And he's not going to, because he's like I said earlier in the video, we had a shed load of injuries, which constitutes in him not being able to see quite a few of these players in certain situations, because he's got to test them as well in hard away games. He's got to test them in a toxic home game, you know, when the crowd's on your back. He's got to test them in loads of different scenarios, see who he can trust, and then build a squad that way. He's going to need at least 2 transfer windows as well, I think, to bring in the players that he wants. I think he's got 2 that I don't know if, like, at the moment, it doesn't even look like he wanted Xavi, but because he's not playing him hardly ever. And I don't understand it, like, because he was rested so many times, and I thought, he's going to start this game. He's going to start this game, and he's just not starting. I don't think Xavi's a left-hand side player, even though he can play on the left-hand side. I want Xavi in that middle, and he links up really, really well with Odobert. So just do it. Just put Xavi and Odobert together with your doggy there on that. We were actually for a couple of games really strong on that left-hand side. Then he changed it again. It really frustrated me. And then he started putting Johnson there. I know he has to rotate in that, But like, I think it was a time when they all rested. They had enough rest. They could have played again, and he changed it, and that frustrated me because we were starting to get strong on that left hand side because I think Kudos was out, wasn't he? So we was concentrating on that left hand side. Soon as Kudos came back, he forgot about the left hand side again, and that was frustrating. I think to answer your question, no, as I'm going off on a tangent again, Odegaard for me is the guy on the left that should be playing on the left for now.
Okay, Harry, we seem to have two Odegaard ins at this moment in time. Do you agree with that? Do you think that he should be the one that should be starting week in, week out at this moment in time? Obviously, as I said, there will be some sort of rotation because of the amount of games.
Temporarily, yes. I think in January is a position we need to address. We failed to do that in the summer, and it was right to let Son go, but it's absolutely criminal, makes no mistake about it. It was at the time, and it still is now, not to replace the man returning next week in Son, someone of that name. If you said to any Premier League fan, oh yeah, Tottenham, they moved on Son in the summer, they didn't replace him, that just will ring utter shock with that name hearing, he's a Premier League great and a Tottenham great, make no mistake about it. So that for me was really poor from the club, and I know that they would have tried. I'm not saying they didn't try, but that's the thing. You can't be winning, trophies going forward if you're the club that tries, or the club that admired, or the club that likes. With this club that we're interested, we have this great big whopping list. Well, no one ever comes off it. And tell you what, the same names on this apparent list every time. Dharma Traore, it's the same every single time. So I'm bored of that. We haven't seen it going into January window yet. But I'm sure I'll see it at some point. But Odegaard, I like him. I do. I think what is also, fans would like to hear it because I partly get it because I know we can do better, but Odegaard and Tel have developed a really nice partnership together for France under 21s. This cannot be overlooked. If you're playing one, do you play them both? Because they both complement each other really well. And I'm not just talking like 2 or 3 goals. Between them this season, 11 goal contributions together, not just on their own. That's when one of them assisted each other. One of them scored off of each other. That's incredible. 11. I know it's, again, only under 21, France under 21s, but that's really, really impressive for me. They've developed a really good partnership that could be used in the Premier League. And twice now they've been on together, and both times one time we turned nothing, which I think it might be Wolves, into a point, and the other time it was a point into 3 points when they're both on the pitch. That's no coincidence. And neither of them are like boom up here, but they develop a nice partnership. So Frank, I think over time we'll look at these things, and you mentioned that there with Simmons and Odegaard, some players just naturally form good partnerships. Odegaard and Odegaard is a great combination, not just a one-off against Man United. They both think very similar, and we've had some players in the past at Spurs that get each other's way a little bit too similar. We've seen that so many times. In particular, I remember under Antonio Conte would be a back three, too many players in one area. Madison used to get frustrated that players got his way, for example. So I just think some players work better with others. But for me, Odegaard for now, we need to address that issue in January. I'm just sick, and I'm just sick of these owners, to put it simply, without going around the houses. It's they say the same thing, but where is this desire come for sporting success? Because it's the same people, different faces maybe saying these things, but it's the same faces up here saying the same drivel every time. Well, where's this desire for sporting success been? You're not conning me, I'm afraid. You may be young, but in this case, hopefully not stupid. So I think we need to get on with it in January and get our elbows out a little bit, because you can't, be like Arsenal or clubs like that where we want to be if you don't act like it. Act like a big club, because we are a big club. We don't act like it sometimes. I think we forget that in transfer windows.
Yeah, I don't think we act like it at all. We definitely need to do more of that sort of, the players that we're targeting, the players that we're going after, the Kudos, apparently the Semenyo, getting over Xavi Simons. They're the type of level that we need to consistently get to. Guys, we're going to just do a quick bit of housekeeping. We've got 39 likes and there's over 130 people watching. So if you are over on X, please come over to YouTube, drop a like and a sub. I've also put all of the links for the guys in the chat. Just one simple click and you will be on their channel. You don't even come off the page. You'll still hear our beautiful voices as well. There's Nige. Big up to Nige. Make sure you go and show some support. Alan at Tottenham Logic TV and also over at Harry's channel too. Please make sure you go in over there, subbing to the guys, and spreading the Spurs love. Also, we've got 40 likes. Come on, let's get, we need 10 more. If we can get to 10 more, that's where we're at. Spotlight on Frank is perfect. Maybe that's the next episode, depending on how we get on. Massive shout out to you, Russell. keep accepting tells, Odebert's Greys, and they will always be Spursy by. But I think this is the problem, Dan. I think the problem is that we have too many of them. I'm okay with Odebert and Tell coming off the bench, but we can't have Odebert and Tell and then
Carson
also
Gray,
other
though,
young
to
players.
include Gray in that, I think he's been exceptional when he's come on this
Yeah,
year.
Dan is not a fan of Gray in any way, shape, or form. Either Frankie and I are out, we need to spend money. I completely agree. It's Lanky, Rufus, Smalls. Tell Wilson, whoever Frank, just stick to a system and persist with it. I definitely think that's part of again what he needs to do. But interestingly, we did get a comment come through. I'm a bit worried if Frank's system is going to suit Maddison and Kulu, because so far it apparently kills every creative player. So I'm going to quite twist that question a little bit, guys. I do want to know from you, is there any players that we are solely relying on and we're thinking if they come back they can completely change? And obviously, let's be completely frank, Solanke's obviously quite close to being back, we would expect. Kulu possibly as well. Maddison's probably out a bit longer. But is there any player that you think he's sort of pinning his hopes, if he comes back, this could really change? Starting with you, Nige.
Honestly, no. Maddison would be the one for me, but he's out for the season. So no, I don't see Kulu changing much. I don't see Solanke changing much. I actually really like Moani. I think he's probably our best striker. You would hope though that when Kulu comes back, when Solanke comes back, that Frank will have more options, and maybe that will make us more attacking. You know, my one hope at the moment is that the likes of Xavi, who is being left out week in, week out, but I'm really confused by it because I thought he was going to be our playmaker, but it seems that Frank doesn't like to play with the 10. He likes legs in midfield, players that work hard, and maybe Simmons isn't that kind of player that he wants. So yeah, no, in answer to your question, no, I don't see any of the players coming back changing much. It's just more bodies, isn't it, to give us more help.
Right, so we've got loads of positivity coming from Nige, which is perfect. We're going to surge back up the table when all of these injured players come back and make no impact whatsoever. Now we're going to go over to Logic over here. Are you going to provide some logic, or are you agreeing with Nige?
It's the case of the players are better when they're not here. So, like, what I mean by that is when we have players missing and it's going wrong, we say, oh, when that player comes back, we'll get it all sorted. And we say that every single time a player's out. But I disagree a little bit with Nige, because I think when Kulu comes back, I think we forgot how good Kulu was last season, especially at the beginning of last season. There was a game against Manchester United. I know it was Manchester United and they were quite poor last year, but he created 9 chances in one game. And if Timo Werner could actually finish, I think he would have got about 5 or 6 assists in one game. Kulu was absolutely on fire last season at some stages last season. He's got that brilliant goal against Everton as well, where he dinked it over that goalkeeper. He can make something out of nothing. He's strong. He can hold on to the ball, which is a lot of things that our players are not doing in the midfield at the moment. He will keep hold of the ball. He'll link up really well. He will change things when he comes in. It's also more of a competition for places as well. So if he comes in, he'll push other players to play better as well. He's got a leadership quality to him as well, which I like. He links up really well with Bergvall. He's the same nationality as him as well. So he can bring him on as well and teach him stuff and, you know, make him a better player too. I think he will make I think he will make a big difference.
Where do you see him playing now, Alan?
Where do you see
him playing when he comes back?
I see him playing in the 10, rotating with Xavi.
What about Maddison?
Maddison's injured for the rest of the season in my eyes. I don't think he's coming back. And if he does come back, he won't be playing much. I don't think he'll be risked a lot. I don't think he'll be back until about March time. And then he's got to take about a month to get match fit, match sharp. Then he's going to be coming on the sub. I don't think we can even count Maddison this year. So I think it's going to be Kulu and Xavi in that 10 role. I think probably towards the end of December time. But it depends when he's coming back. On Solanke, though, he was close to coming back in June. And he's still out. So I don't know what's going on with him. But
only Spurs.
Only
Spurs could do that. Only Spurs, exactly. The guy could get injured for a couple of weeks and not see a football pitch for 12 months.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
But I'm with Nige. I think Moani is a superb player. I think once we start getting these attacking players attacking more and getting him more into the game, we're going to see a lot more from him. He can take on his player. He's strong. He's good in the air. He links up well. He's got good skill on him. So, you know, he's got the full package if we can get him on the ball more. So I don't think we're missing Solanke as much as
the others.
You know, when he comes back, it's a good rotation option. Don't get me wrong, that'd be good for that. But I think Mawani will be our number one striker, and I do believe Kulusevski will make a difference, to answer your question. But I don't think there's anyone else. If Maddison comes back really quick and he comes back in January, then obviously that's a very good option to have, because I love Maddison when he's on his game. I really do. I think he can make something out of nothing. He's a very, very talented player. So, but I can't see him coming back.
No, I agree. Danilist has gone very, very frank out very, very quickly, hasn't he? He is not a happy bunny, Mr. Danilist. I thought you was upset at Ange, but you are very, very upset. I hope you're well, my man. I hope Spurs are not driving you to that point that we all get to with Spurs. I completely agree with Dan. I completely agree with the guys. I don't think Kulu is going to be match fit and impacting games like he has done for right till the end of the season if he does come back. And I completely agree. I think Maddison, Xavi, Mawani, Kudus, it looks very good on paper. The only problem is it's played on a pitch, and most of them don't get out on the pitch often enough, unfortunately, which is a bit of a problem. Now, Harry, is there anything in terms of the injured players that are coming back? I know I completely just disregarded Takai, guys. He is obviously coming back from injury as well. He featured, I think it was yesterday, with Dragusin in at centre back. Don't know why, but for me, he just looks like a child. Even though he's like 21, 22, he just looked really thin and slight. So I'm not sure how he's going to fare in the Premier League, but he is real. He has played a game for Tottenham. But is there anyone, Harry, that you think when they come back, they'll make a big impact? Or do you believe, similar to what Dan's saying here, that actually it doesn't really matter because the tactics and everything else are not going to allow these attacking players to flourish?
No, I simply don't buy that at all, I'm afraid. I really don't. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I just can't understand that at all. For me, Maddison, I think, would be the one, because I think, look at Frank, what he had at Brentford with Damsgaard. For me, Maddison's a very similar player. He had good ball control, and Damsgaard, when he's on it, was really up here. And I think you're spot on, Alan, in terms of Maddison. I think he is hot and cold, but when he's on it, he's really on it, and he could make a big impact. So I think if you listen to the way Frank spoke in particular at the time, I think it hit him a little bit hard that Maddison was, got this injury unexpectedly and was out for a long time. I think that was a big blow to him and his plans. And I think right now we're talking about Tottenham side that lack creativity. I honestly think that Frank almost ripped up some of his plans and started again when Maddison, he knew I'd get back Kulusevski, but Maddison, I think that's, for me, meant that we've retracted deeper. We've, I would have taken advantage of set pieces anyway, because that's Frank. But I think we've shut up shop more because he's looked at Xavi Simons and gone, you're probably a really good player, but it's going to take time. And look, I'm one of those fans, I agree, that wants to see Simons in the team. But at the same time, when he does come on, he's pushed off the ball really easily and isn't having an impact on the game. So I actually, unfortunately, think it's right that he isn't starting. But at the same time, you don't improve and you don't get used to the country, the league, the manager and the system if you don't play games. So that is where it's hard to strike a balance. I don't think Luke is as simple as saying, Simons, why is he not starting every game? This is absolutely shocking. What's going wrong? There's a little bit more to it than that. It's about the benefit of the team, because Simons come on the other day and, unfortunately was having a negative impact because he just couldn't keep hold of the ball. We know what he's capable of, but for me, it's a case of when he's been in the team, he overthinks it a bit too much. But Maddison would be the big one to go on to keep on topic for me, that would make a huge difference. Kulusevski is a frank player in terms of could sound funny, but Kulusevski's a good counter-attacking player, but he hasn't got the pace. That's the problem. But he's got the cleverness, because Kulusevski can keep hold of the ball and shift it onto those that have got more pace. And Kulusevski strikes me as what Mbeumo had at Brentford. Maddison strikes me at what Damsgaard done at Brentford. And so I would say Solanke, but I agree with the guys that he wouldn't be the number one. However, I think Frank puts balls in the box, balls in the box, balls in the box. Dominic Solanke at Bournemouth, his bread and butter was balls into the box. Not at what we saw at Ange, where ball to feet, ball to feet, ball to feet. That just didn't suit him. So I think Solanke's more inclined and more suited to Frank's system, but when he was fit, we didn't really see that. So I think Mawani, I agree, would still be the starting striker. Make no mistake about it. For me, we leapfrog quite a few places. Not dramatic. I'm not saying, look, oh my God, let's all of a sudden back in the top four. But Maddison and Kulusevski come back. This is a different story. And just think of the amount of noise that there would be if Arsenal, you know, let's just say Arsenal for now, we're missing this type of player. You know, they're whinging at the moment, and they're whinging that like I had someone in college today, an Arsenal fan, try to tell me, "Oh, we rested everyone against Brentford." And I pulled the team up and went, "Look, you call that rest? That's an incredibly strong team. You've either got a ridiculously strong squad, or you're having me on, because it's a really strong squad, and they've had injuries. Don't get me wrong, but you know, we have Maddison and Kulusevski. We just don't shout about it a lot, which is the right thing to do. It's not an excuse, but maybe an explanation sometimes. For me, Maddison, I think, has really hit this team quite hard, and we've had to retract defensively and change the way we play. Again, not an excuse. He's on the board. He's on the board for not doing more. And make no mistake about it, Maddison was recovering from injury. This hasn't been spoken about, but he was on that preseason tour. Unfortunately for me, he was there to sell shirts, and he's come on for me when he wasn't ready and got injured. I think that's because of money. I'm not being funny, because it's what the preseason tour is for. And I don't want to start conspiracy theories or anything like that, but I don't know whether it was right to take Maddison on the preseason tour. It didn't feel right at the time, because he'd only come back into training the week before, and he's, you know, literally almost snapped, didn't he? I mean, he's straight coming on. So that for me is really disappointing to see, and that would have hurt Frank, and I'm sure he doesn't agree with that. Travelling all around the world to different countries didn't benefit the team at all. But no, lots of players will come back, Luke, and hopefully make an impact. Fingers crossed.
Okay, and quick one, Tel Cockerell, the absolute best name on YouTube. I don't care what anyone says. Absolutely sensational. A quick question for the panel. We're going to quickly go around, then we'll do the predictions for next year, and then we will be closing up. Once again, guys, make sure, please, that you're hitting the like, you're subscribing to everyone. We're 5 likes away from 50. Make sure that the guys have got more subs from today's stream as well. Please go and drop a sub to them. Links will be in the chat several different times throughout today's stream. How do managers survive when fans fail to back them? So you can also say how many managers react and actually come back after being sort of booed on the pitch, booed at halftime, etc. So how do managers survive when fans fail to back them, Nige?
They don't, do they? You know,
I think that's part of the question. I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah. But this is, it's difficult, but this isn't just a Spurs thing, is it? You know, it's we were talking about the fans earlier, you know, and the booing, and again, you know, I hate to pick on our own fans. It's not just a Spurs thing. You know, Liverpool fans going nuts when they've lost a few. You know what Arsenal fans are like when they lose a game. So, but I don't know. I am very much in the camp now where, listen, I saw what I saw under Ange. I just want to back a manager. Let's just give him some time, see what he can do. He may not be the right man. He may not be the right man. I don't know if he is or not. But I don't think we can tell after 14 games. I think we have to give him at least till January. See how he does. Listen, I may change my mind if we get stuff by Brentford. I might be on the Frank train, Frank out train. But right now, I'm thinking let's just back him, keep calm. You know, we were expecting to start like this. Frank starts slow at every club he's been at. So let's just give it a bit of time. And I know the football's not great, but as long as we're picking up results, you know, I think we can suck up the football being a bit crap for a few months.
Yep. Alan, what do you think? How is he able to how do managers, as the question says, how do managers survive when fans fail to back them?
By winning games. That's as simple as that. That's the only way you'll get the fans on side. There is a point to be made about Frank at the moment that he needs to improve performances, because some of our performances are record breaking for the wrong reasons, and fans won't stick around for long if we're seeing improvement month on month and we're saying, right, we're getting better slowly, we know it's going to take time. But if, let's just say, like Nigel said, against Brentford, we have a really poor performance. No, it is Brentford, isn't it? We have a really poor performance, and Brentford are all over us, score 3 or 4 goals against us. Our XG is like 0.17, and we're not seeing any improvements. It's very hard to get behind. It's very hard. And fans don't, I promise you, I spoke to loads of fans, and none of them want to keep sacking managers. None of them do. But if they're seeing us going backwards, they find it very difficult to get behind it, because we're in a world now where we want instant success, we want instant noodles, we want instant this, instant that. Do you know what I mean? And it's in reality, that's never going to happen. We have to understand as fans, and like Nigel said, it's not just Spurs fans. We have to understand that any management job, not just football, to turn things around from something poor, it takes a long time. You've got to change the mentality, you've got to change the structure, you've got to change the team, you've got to play the way you want to play, you've got to get them on board, then you've got to get the fans on board, you've got to get your board on board, you've got so much to do. And he's had such little time to change anything, especially, like I keep saying, with horrendous injury record as well, to try and rotate twice a week in a Champions League. We haven't got the luxury of playing 18-year-olds in Europa League now. We have to keep playing our better players for both games, and it takes its toll. And when you're trying to implement a new style, it's not easy. So I'm willing to be patient. I'm willing to, go through this really painful, like Nigel says, sometimes turgid football, because I know there could be something on the other side. I'm not saying 100% that he is the right man. We're never going to know. But the only way we're going to know is to wait and see. If we just keep sacking managers all the time, we're never going to get anywhere. We honestly won't, because another manager can come in tomorrow. It could be anyone. You name a manager, Xavi, anyone can come in, yeah? And he'll have the same problems. Exactly the same. It's not going to change just because another manager comes in. He's got to do the same process. We've got to give him time. If he comes in and loses the first 3 games, what are we all going to say? Get rid of him, sack him. And the only time we've ever gave someone time was Pochettino. And I remember, and you guys remember, at the beginning, fans were calling for him to be gone. They said he was a mid-table manager. He can only manage teams like Southampton. This is out of his league. He doesn't know what he's doing. I heard all of this, and he went on to be one of our best managers in recent times.
It was against Villa, wasn't it? The game against Villa.
The Villa game, when Harry Kane scored that goal, deflected and went in. If that didn't go in, we might not have had the Poch days. So sometimes it's really hard to watch. Sometimes it's horrible. And I think the biggest problem we have this year is Arsenal sitting at the top. I think that's our biggest problem. If they were just as bad as us this year, we wouldn't be as angry, I don't think. And watching us defend against Wolves at home was horrific to watch. I think if he starts improving in performances slowly, and we can see change, and we can see the players getting behind the manager, and we know that he's changing things slowly, then we can get behind it. But if we carry on seeing really poor performances at home, I don't think the fans are going to, accept it for much longer. That's the only way it is. He's just got to win games. He really has.
Coming in with a last-minute header at the back post, Something Wong, man. What an unbelievable little name and badge that is, by the way. With the super sticker, big up to you. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Lastly, coming on to you, Harry, before we get the predictions, what do you think needs to sort of change? Do you, in terms of like the fans and everything else, do you think it's literally what Nige said? I think it was Alan said, just winning games. We literally, if he starts winning games, fans will get back on side. We're very, very fickle, right?
Oh, well, unfortunately, yes. Some of us certainly are. I'm sure I'm included in that. But no, I just think that, look, I have this conversation with my dad a lot because he's more negative, and like he'd be jumping boom straight away. And we clash on a lot of things to do with Spurs, and sometimes the conversation can go on a lot. I do get why we're unhappy with what we're seeing at the moment, but I don't get after 14 league games. I'm still like that comment there. I just simply don't agree with it. What makes people think that Frank hasn't got that respect? We go to Newcastle, we defend really well, we're really clinical. Romero, for me, captain's performance. If the captain's behind the manager, then the whole team behind the manager. So for me, it's a totally pushed false agenda by fans, unfortunately. So no, I think it's the case of supporting the team. It really is. You support the team. It's the same that improves the atmosphere. You support the team. You be a Spurs fan, and Frank's comments would have been uncomfortable. It's about the way you do it, and Frank will say, "He said all the right things. Just he's had the message from above to look, be careful how you say this because it's a sensitive." So he said it at the wrong time, but the wider point's right, and there is a divide, like I said earlier, between the players and the fans, and that has to be solved. The ticket prices will be an issue, of course, that will raise fans' expectation. That is normal, and players have to deliver. They have to do more on the pitch, and also at the times where Frank gets a lot of blame, I also think the players have to be responsible as well, absolutely. But it's important to remember they're human beings. So, abusing them is not right. And as Spurs fans, we're a class fan base, so we can do a lot better than that. But also, you're right to hold a standard. So it's about getting the right balance everywhere. Right now, I think just simply being quiet and supporting the team is the right thing to do. I think we can, grumble, we can be unhappy, we can show the fans that where we want to be, what we're happy with, but also the frustration is there that level of support when things go well? Well, that's the problem. We want to have these kind of conversations when that's the problem. We talk about the owners, like the owners won't be spoken about when things are rosy, and that's the problem. It has to be that level of consistency, and I just don't see this as a deeply turgid time. I just see this as a little bit of a dip. It's never going to be boom straight away. I don't know any manager. I'm really struggling to think, unless they've had an unreal backing or they're like achieved something else where they come in and hit the ground running straight away. Or if they do, like Frank come in and hit the ground running straight away, but it's not sustainable initially. And when I hit the ground running, I'm thinking like first half of the season, it just isn't there. And managers tend to start well at Tottenham. It is a new manager bounce. So we just need to give Frank a little bit of time. And I just don't think it's right to start, calling Frank every name under the sun. I back him fully in what he does, and I'm fully behind the team. And that Newcastle game for me is we've seen something out of it that I can take forward as a supporter and back. So I just think we need to be very patient. And again, address the comment. I never even said that Frank had more respect than Conte. That's totally wrong. I said that Frank has got the respect of the players. We're seeing that. We saw that against Newcastle. That's a committed performance. I think right now we're facing a squad that unfortunately isn't as good as we think. It's not a bad squad. I'm not one of them that thinks that, but it's not of the level of where we want to be. That's the problem. So for me, it does lie with upstairs. I am behind Frank. I think he says the right things, means the right things, and I think he needs time. And I don't get why you'd be judging someone after 14 games. What's happened in football to give him managers time? And, I'm someone 16 years of age. It is my generation. It's what I call in my opinion, it's the win now generation. It's the entitled generation. You get two sides to it, right? You get a lot of younger people that are so entitled. Like, I say this, they just force their opinion down your throat. Also, you've got another where it's like follow the sheep. They just like, if once someone says something, they follow. And I think you have to buckle that trend and go, look, I'm back in the club right now. And for me, I don't care how long it takes. I'm a Spurs sport at the end of the day. However we play, performance-wise, whatever result will be, I'll be there at the end of the day because the team needs your support when the performances are bad. And right now, it's not in a rosy period. But I think we need to support the team right now, and booing them is certainly not going to help. I think we need to support Frank and the players to come together, and the home form is an issue. They need to do more, of course. We also, as fans, have a responsibility. I feel a responsibility when I go to get behind the team.
We are going to move on to predictions. Just a quick one. Don't agree with Harry. I think Romero just blatantly ignored instructions. I don't think he did. I think that's what he does. He's done that several times. He done it last year against Arsenal when he just run up the pitch. And then Raya gave the mistake, and he's the one that scored from it. I feel like that's what Romero does. That's part of his play, is that he'll come out, he'll run out of the
Frank at Brentford, his centre-back used to score as many goals, if not more, than their midfielders, for example. His thing was overlapping centre-backs and centre-backs scoring. Look, Ethan Pinnock was a big one. Nathan Collins developed his name under Frank. I'll just add that in.
Harry, are Spurs back? Depends.
Spursy maybe, not Spurs.
Spurs are back to what? Adrian, big shout out to you. We are just going to go to the predictions, guys. Something Wong dropping £2 in the chat. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Saying Arteta's first year at the top after 6 years. Obviously, looking at the patience side of things, guys. We'll do a quick round robin on score predictions for the Brentford game. We're going to start with Nigel, who's been full of positivity today. So, what are you going with, Nigel?
Oh God, I don't know. If we're away from home, I'd be going for a win. We've got to win, haven't we? I think I'm going to go for. My head says it's going to be a draw, but my heart is saying 2-1 Spurs.
Yes, we've cracked him, boys. We have pulled some positivity in tonight. It's brilliant. I love it. Where are we going with, Alan?
So, Brentford have lost their last 3 away games, by the way.
So they're going to win.
Just to throw that in. So they're going to win. So Brentford 4-0. Now, also, they played a day later than us. So we've got a day's extra than they have. So we could take advantage of that. Like Nigel said, we're at home. So if we start badly, it's going to be a long day. We need to start well, I think. We need to get the fans behind us, and we need to start well. I'm going to go for 2-1 Spurs as well.
I love this comment. We went from inverted, I'd say wing backs, to attacking centre backs. Welcome to
Very
Spurs.
true.
Harry, where do you sit on the predictions for the game?
Tough game. I think Keith Andrews has done a great job at Brentford. A lot of people use that against Frank, but again, we never know. Let's be honest with you, how much it is down to the previous manager. Very similar at Brighton with Graham Potter and that kind of De Zerbi transition. I think Potter set up the foundations. De Zerbi, kind of explored and also exploited that and went further with that. But for me, we see a Brentford side that are very similar because Keith Andrews worked as a, not assistant manager, people keep saying, but a set piece coach under Thomas Frank, and he was always Frank. I remember I went back and saw some comments, and he said how he thought Keith Andrews, out anyone in his coaching staff, would be the one, and then Justin Cook around them two would be the ones to boom, take it into management. So he's doing a really good job. But you're right, Brentford away from home haven't travelled well. Such a shame, isn't it, to see them resting players against Arsenal? I do question that mentality. They've got a deeper squad this year, players like Atara, etc. They're right to rotate, but they really, leaving the likes of Henderson out the team, for example, have been so key. What big signing he's been for Brentford. But no, it could be really tough, Luke. I think Brentford, it'll mean a lot to them to beat Frank, and it'll mean a lot to Frank, I'm sure, to get a result. I think we get the home form. I think this could be a little bit of a turning point. I really do hope so. It's been a tough run of games, and we've all been, through it as fans. It hasn't been nice, hasn't been pretty. Nobody likes to lose the games we've had, and the manner we do either. I think we win this. I'm going to go with 3-1 Tottenham. Fingers crossed.
Oh, we're all going with wins. I'm going to go 2-1 as well. So we're all going with wins. Big up, Russell. Appreciate you, mate. Thank you very much. On the piss here in Sydney town. Lovely job. Well, you enjoy that, my friend. You enjoy that. Guys, as I said, we are going to come to an end now. We're currently on 47 likes, so we still need 3 of yous. And I'm sure there's 3 of yous in here. 3 more likes to hit.
Come on, people.
To hit
just
that 50.
More.
Guys,
it's easy. Just press your button.
Simple like, subscribe, like.
If we get 3 more likes, we're going to score 3 goals on Saturday.
Yeah. There you go. For every like we get, we get a goal. There you go. Hopefully, it's not conceded. It's with goal scored. Goal scored.
3 own goals, mate. No, it's not going to happen.
No, let's not go there. No.
We've got Nige from Pure Coys. Big shout out to you for coming on, mate. There's the link. Do you want to let everyone know what's coming up on Pure Coys in the next week or so?
I've got the breakfast show again on Monday morning. No doubt I will be doing videos and shorts. Hopefully some positive videos after a Spurs win at the weekend.
Big up, mate. Once again, thank you very much for coming on. Alan, Tottenham Logic TV, what have you got coming up, my man? Click the link. Make sure you're subbing to everyone.
So I've got another episode of YouTubers React with these lovely gentlemen are going to give me their opinions of the Brentford game. Hopefully it's a positive one. I've done 2 of these shows so far and both have been defeats. I think they've both been defeats, I think. So we need a win just for that channel to actually get some content, because people are not watching it because we keep losing. So we need to get a win, and I'll put this show out to everybody to see. All these guys are going to give me their opinions. I'm going to get some more other YouTubers on as well in the future. And hopefully that episode grows and grows and grows.
Cheers again, mate, for coming on. And last but not least, award-winning Harry. The absolutely superb job, mate. And I think you've also just hit 3.5K as well, is right?
I have. Firstly, thank you so much.
What a week.
I know, yeah, what a week. No, absolutely, thank you. I'm exhausted, so it wasn't the best night, I will admit. It was 4th one in a row, but I really enjoy it. And, thank you so much for having me on if you ever need a guest. And great to share the stage with amazing people. And people in the comments that will be open, maybe will disagree with my opinion, for example. But I think it's almost beautiful in a way to see the variety of different opinions. That's what makes supporting a football club special. Because, I'll say my opinion about Frank, and so many times this week, people made me think, do you know what, that's a really good point. Or, do you know what, I consider that. Oh, actually, I don't agree with you that. But fair enough. And a lot of genuine people, and in the chat. So big up to chat. You have a great audience here, Luke. So if you haven't liked and subscribed already, make sure to do so. Follow all these guys. But in terms of me, if you want to follow me, don't blame me if you don't. You can follow me at HarryScarf22 across all socials. I mean, it's quite a special day for me today, because in my town where I've lived in 12 years, I was in the local newspaper today, and I didn't know about that at all. That was a nice little surprise to knock at my door, and there you go, you're in the paper. So that was a big surprise. So no, honestly, it's been great for me following that win at the Content Awards, meeting so many amazing people. So honestly, so privileged, and to come on channels like this, so thank you. But my own YouTube channel is Harry Scarf. There's a load of content, mainly Tottenham content, it's a Tottenham channel, but We cover all news for every single Premier League club I do, FPL, you name it. But that's enough about me. Thank you tonight. Big up to the chat. And hopefully everyone will agree that Spurs can hopefully start winning some games and we can really kick on. But come you Spurs, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much, guys, for coming on, and hopefully Spurs turn a corner and start picking up wins like Harry is, because then we'll shoot right up the table. Big shout out to you. Well done, my man. Fully deserved. And as always, come on, you Spurs. See you later, guys.